This is the story of a murder suspect who didn't just flee the country, he logged on. In April 2017, Melinda Vasilije, a 22-year-old promising hairstylist, was brutally killed in her own apartment in Kitchener, Ontario. Her killer, her ex-boyfriend, Ager Hasan, vanished into the United States just hours after the crime. But while police forces on both sides of the border launched a global manhunt, the fugitive found a way to take control of the narrative, using the darkest corners of the internet to issue a stunning, self-serving confession. The question wasn't who killed Melinda Vasilije, but what compelled his killer to betray his crime on a public forum, and what shocking evidence did he hope to hide.
Melinda Vasilije had everything ahead of her, yet her life became tragically intertwined with Ager Hasan in a relationship that quickly became unsustainable. Despite their year-long history, mounting tension and conflict forced Melinda to make the painful decision to end the relationship. Hasan, unable to accept the end, escalated the situation dramatically. The conflict reached a dangerous, criminal height when Hasan broke into Melinda's apartment. This breach resulted in him facing assault charges and, crucially, being placed under strict bail conditions. These conditions explicitly barred him from all contact with Melinda and forbade him from even stepping foot inside the city of Kitchener. It was a legal shield designed to guarantee Melinda's safety and peace, but Ager Hasan refused to let the story end there.
Despite the clear court orders, Melinda agreed to one final, restricted meeting. She made safety preparations, but the stage was now set for the ultimate violation of trust. What unfolded in that apartment, however, was far darker than anyone could have imagined.
On the night of April 27, 2017, Ager Hasan deliberately defied his bail conditions and drove to Melinda's apartment for the forbidden meeting. Melinda, taking precautions, arranged for witnesses to be present. But sometime after midnight, those witnesses momentarily left the apartment. The couple was alone. When Melinda's friends returned just half an hour later, they were met with silence. The door was locked. After multiple attempts to get inside, they discovered the horrifying truth. Melinda Vasilije was dead, found on the floor of her bedroom. Hasan was gone. Within hours of the murder, he was already speeding south. His car crossed the border into the United States, allowing the killer to disappear into the vastness of a neighboring country, initiating an international manhunt.
The police had their prime suspect and a massive trail to follow. But just as law enforcement began coordinating a global search, the fugitive himself delivered an unbelievable twist, opening a window directly into his warped state of mind, and he did it using a keyboard. While Ager Hasan was on the run in the U.S., evading authorities for over 2 months, he decided to turn his flight into a public performance. Instead of staying silent, he went online. The key new development in this case dropped not in a police press release, but on the social platform Reddit. A user claiming to be Ager Hasan posted a lengthy, detailed account of the fatal encounter. He admitted to the fight, describing the argument and saying he stupidly pushed her. But the post painted Hasan as the victim. He claimed Melinda was the aggressor, asserting that he was only protecting himself after she allegedly came at him with a knife. He insisted he was only trying to give myself some space before I turn myself in. This digital admission was investigated by Waterloo Regional Police, but the digital manipulation didn't stop there. Hasan engaged in truly shocking psychological warfare. Immediately after the killing, even knowing Melinda was likely dead, he texted her phone, claiming he was glad they had worked things out. Later, during his time in hiding, he allegedly used a fake social media account to message Melinda's grieving mother with cruel, blaming messages. The judge would later describe this act as shockingly negative evidence of Hasan's character. But while the killer worked tirelessly to control his own narrative online, the facts discovered at the crime scene told a far more violent, chilling story. Melinda Vasilije did not suffer a single accidental wound, or one that could easily be excused as self-defense. Forensic reports confirmed that Melinda Vasilije had been stabbed a devastating 47 times. The severity of the attack, including 27 stab wounds to her neck, made the killer's claims of panic and self-protection sound like a horrific lie. The evidence was overwhelming, and law enforcement was closing in. The hunt for Ager Hasan finally concluded on July 11, 2017, in San Antonio, Texas. His arrest was almost routine, a traffic stop initiated because his car was using stolen license plates. When officers searched the vehicle, they found another layer to the fugitive's chaotic flight. Hasan was in possession of $600 worth of counterfeit currency. The escape was over. Hasan was extradited back to Canada to face justice. At the beginning of his legal proceedings, he sought to minimize his crime. He attempted to plead guilty to the lesser charge of manslaughter. However, the Crown rejected the plea, arguing that the totality of evidence pointed toward deliberate intent. The case went before a jury. The defense relied heavily on the narrative of self-defense and an impulsive act during a violent argument, a narrative Ager Hasan had carefully constructed online while on the run. But the court saw through the manipulation. In May 2023, the jury returned its verdict. They found Ager Hasan guilty of second-degree murder. The conviction carried an automatic life sentence. It was up to the presiding judge to determine when Ager Hasan would be eligible for parole. The court considered the extreme violence, the calculated attempt to cover up the crime, and the psychological abuse aimed at the victim's family. The judge delivered a final and powerful condemnation of Hasan's actions, explicitly rejecting his testimony and the self-defense narrative. The judge stated that after the murder, Hasan had worked to create evidence and tried to deflect blame from himself. Ager Hasan was sentenced to life in prison, barred from communicating with Melinda's family, and given a lifetime weapons prohibition. He will not be eligible to apply for parole until the year 2033, a 16-year wait from the date of his incarceration. This sentence brought a definitive legal end to the case, confirming that Ager Hasan's digital confession was nothing more than a desperate attempt to manipulate the truth, a fact designed to excuse the calculated murder of Melinda Vasilije. The case of Melinda Vasilije is a grim reminder that violence doesn't always end at the crime scene. Sometimes the true crime extends into the calculated world of narrative control, where a killer attempts to use the public forum not for truth, but to escape responsibility. Ultimately, justice prevailed, ensuring that his attempts to deflect blame could not erase the shocking truth of the 47 stab wounds.